Greetings, mighty companions, and welcome back to the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center Sunday Course in Miracles class. Good for you. Thanks for joining us. And first, we're going to start with just a few minutes of an opening integration meditation, and then we will get into whatever section Spirit has chosen for us for today. So, if you haven't already, close your eyes and take a breath. This is our time to leave the world behind for a moment, that we might go within and feel the presence of the divine spirit that is us, that lives within us. That is peace. So let's breathe and tune our awareness into the present moment. Feeling what it feels like to be present, just right here, just right now. Remembering now. Our memory can remember the now, just like it can remember the past that is gone. So let's remember now, and all the beauty and the power and the peace and the joy and the healing that is now, that lives in the now, that's always waiting for us unconditionally in the now. I thank you, God, that you have placed all my good and all my power and all my peace here in the now, where I am. Thank you. Thank you for placing all the answers and all the joy and all the healing right here within my mind, now and forever. And thank you, Spirit of Truth, for this opportunity to join with other mighty companions who also long for the healing of truth. And thank you for this opportunity to listen to the truth about us together, that we might be healed together and share our healing with the world together. Spirit, on behalf of humanity who is one with us, we give you this holy instant, and we ask that you would be in charge and that you would decide for healing for us and through us for the world now. Thank you, Spirit. Be you in charge. And then when you're ready, take a breath and bring your awareness back to the room, back to your body. All right. Okay. Hi, Carol. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Now. All right. Well, where we're going to be today is in Chapter 20, Section 3. That's Chapter 20, Section 3, and that's in both editions, the edited edition, which is the blue-covered edition, and also the original editions, which comes in a purple-covered edition and a black-covered edition. So let's see, what do you all have today? You have the blue-covered edition, all right? So it is called Sin as an Adjustment in the blue-covered edition. And if you have the original edition, the original title, hi dear, is called sin as an adjustment. Oh, the belief in sin as an adjustment. So we're going to be talking about the adjustments that we have been making to what isn't even true today and how to stop doing that.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Which part? The titles? Oh, it's chapter 20, section 3. And in your book, it's the belief in sin as an adjustment. Or you could say guilt as an adjustment, which means guilt is not natural. Sin is a false idea. It is not natural. We were not born in sin. As a matter of fact, the belief in sin is a false idea that we've been trying to adjust ourselves to. Okay? So we're going to hear about that. And I love the original title, The Insanity of Adjustment. All right. So we're going to be talking about that today. It's a really powerful section. It's just chock full of powerful, powerful ideas that have the ability and the power to release you from any of those ego adjustments you have been trying to make to yourself. If you have been experiencing any strain in your experience, is because you are trying to be something and someone that you are not. If you were just being your natural self as you were created by God, by love, you would not ever be experiencing strain. Strain is when you're trying to be something that you're not. And we're doing that all day long. And that's where that sense of strain comes from, or that feeling of being inadequate. The feeling of being inadequate is because you're trying to be something that you're not. If you're feeling incompetent, or you're feeling inadequate, or you're feeling a sense of strain, or you're feeling a sense of failure, anybody ever felt any of those things? This morning? The Course of Miracles is telling us if you're experiencing any of those things, it is because you are trying to adjust yourself to something that isn't true about you. You are trying to be something that you are not, you know. And if you were just trying to be, just wanting to be exactly as you were created to be by your source, there would be no sense of strain. There would be no feeling of failure. There would be no conflict, because you would just be being your natural self. The strain and conflict only comes in when you are trying to be something you are not, like guilty, like a body, okay? Like guilty. That's the main one. All right. So we're going to talk about the ways that we've been adjusting ourselves to be something that we're not, so that we can stop doing that and just be what we are and experience the natural abundance, great ease and grace of our natural state. The Course in Miracles says the nature of your reality is that it is perfectly satisfying. The nature of reality, the nature of your reality, our reality, it is perfectly satisfying. It's complete, it's whole. Reality doesn't need anything else to happen. The way you are, your natural state, your true identity doesn't need any adjustment. Who you are was created perfect, complete and whole. And that is still the way you are. And so really the goal here is to stop trying to adjust ourselves to something that we never were or never can be, and just learn how to be ourselves. It's like the simplest thing that there ever could be, the simplest thing you could ever do, just be. Stop trying to be something that you're not. It's the simplest, easiest thing you could do in time, in a body, right? But for the ego, that's death. That's death itself. So it seems like the hardest thing to do is just be without that belief that I've got to somehow change who and what I am in order to be happy. I've got to change them somehow for me to be happy, or for them to be okay. All this thought that we've got to make all this adjustment in order to be perfect, in order to be happy, in order to be complete and healed and whole. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Does that sound practical? What you say?
No sweat.
No sweat. She says, all right, okay. That's what you say now. All right. Beautiful. So it says in your book, the title is the belief. What was the title in the blue book? Sin as an adjustment. Okay. And then the original title is The Insanity of Adjustment. First sentence, the belief in sin is an adjustment, which means it's not natural. And what is an adjustment? An adjustment is a change, which means a shift in perception, which means a belief that what was so before has been made different. So that feeling of guilt that we all feel, that perception of guilt, that belief in sin that we have all been brought up with, that was a shift in perception. That was a belief that what you were before, innocent, has been made different. Okay? The belief in sin is that I once was innocent, and now I'm guilty. And so that's what belief in sin is. It's an adjustment. It's a change. It's a shift or belief that what was so before has been made different. I once was innocent, but now I'm not anymore. Okay? Now, every adjustment is therefore a distortion, and so every adjustment calls upon defenses to uphold that adjustment against reality. Knowledge, what you are in reality, requires no adjustment. Yes.
I'm really frustrated.
Already? That's only three sentences.
I can never follow along because I'm on chapter 20 here, that it says the holy something. I don't know.
And when it said holy, they just lost you right out the bat.
And I never know where the hell I am in these books.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 20.
Well, someone said chapter 20.
Chapter 20, section 3.
Well, that's what I did. I did chapter 20.
Matt, will you help her? All right, I'm gonna move along.
I did that. Wrote it down.
All right. Here we go.
I'm just frustrated.
So listen. So then it says that what if I told you that your reality, who you are, requires no adjustment? Has anybody heard that? Has anybody heard anybody say that to them lately? You're perfect. You don't need to change. Has anybody heard that lately? No. That's right.
Perfect, now change.
Exactly. That what we hear in our relationships is, you're perfect, I love you, now change. That's what we hear. And we're like, I love you, but if you could just make a few little tweaks here and there. All right. So this is saying that knowledge requires no adjustment. Okay, so what you are, the truth of what you are, requires no adjustment, and your reality, in fact, is lost if any shift or change is undertaken. So the moment you start trying to adjust or improve or enhance what you are, who you are, thinking, oh, if I could just make a little change in myself, I would be more appreciated. People would love me more. People would blah, 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 blah. I could have fill in the blank if I was just a little different.
It reminds me of this whole world of everybody identifying as something they're not.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. What are your pronouns?
Yeah.
And my pronouns are, perfect. I don't recognize that one. We're gonna have to add a P to the LBGQTQP. What's the P for? Perfect. My pronouns are perfect. I am as God created me. So he's saying that any moment that you're trying to adjust your reality, change your reality, is when you lose your understanding of who and what you are. So unless you're saying, I am as God created me, and my goal right now is to accept that. That whatever you're doing besides that, you are moving further and further away from your awareness of your true identity by the moment. Okay? The only time you will ever come to the awareness of your true identity, your true worth, your true value, your real reality is when you are saying and accepting, I am as love created me. I am perfect, which means complete and whole. Okay, anything else where you're trying to make improvements or change yourself or change someone else or get somebody else to adjust and getting yourself to adjust. What's the first thing we typically do when we have a new relationship, whether it's romantic or colleague or family or what's the first thing we typically do in new relationships?
Spruce yourself up.
Spruce yourself up. Exactly. Start making adjustments. Start making adjustments in yourself. And then you're like making adjustments in them. I love you. You're perfect. But, you know, if you just stop wearing those shirts with holes in them, you know, then we'd be good. You'd be perfect then. Exactly. It's like, you're perfect. I love you. Now please change. So in other words, we're trying to adjust ourselves thinking that our reality requires some kind of improvement. And then we're also, which means we're losing touch with who we really are, our true worth and value. And then we're doing it to each other. So we certainly aren't going to know who they really are in their true glory, in their true natural glory. Okay? So then it says, and we're paragraph 1, sentence 4, because this reduces your reality at once to mere perception, which means a way of looking, in which certainty in yourself is lost, which means doubt has entered. So the moment you start trying to make adjustments in who and what you are and what they are, now all you got is self-doubt. So the moment you're like, well, if I just improve myself like this, or if I just improve them a little bit like that, now what comes in is not like, oh, right, that's great, that's wonderful. No, what comes in is, I'm still not right. I still need, something's still not right in me. What do I need to change next? Maybe it's my hair. Maybe it's my financial situation. Maybe it's my job. Okay? The moment you start making those adjustments, thinking you need to be adjusted, your reality needs to be improved, actually what comes in is more self-doubt. Okay? It says, and to this impaired condition where you're full of self-doubt are adjustments necessary because the adjustments are not true. Who needs to adjust to truth? Who needs to adjust to truth? What is truth? Truth is that which calls upon only what you are to understand. So for truth, you don't have to adjust yourself to anything. Just like saying for love, you don't need to adjust yourself. To real love, you don't have to be like, oh, if only I was prettier or smarter or wiser or whatever. For real love or for your truth, you don't have to make any adjustments. And when you're truly loving somebody for real, you're not asking them or demanding that they make any adjustments if your love is real for them. You know, and real love, as in God, you know, God, the author of love, does not require or demand any kind of adjustments contrary to popular belief and projection about God. You know, we think that God is like the ultimate demander of how you got to adjust, aka obey, right? All the rules in our spiritual, religious systems, right? What are they? Those are the rules that we projected onto God for how God wants us to adjust ourselves to be more worthy of God's love. But what kind of love is that? It's like, well, you know, if you were changed, I would love you. Like, what kind of love is that? So it's saying that for what is true about you, you do not need to adjust at all. Okay? I love it there. Thank you, Carol. We tell them to stop saying, to talk about not interrupting the service a little quieter. They're like yelling, don't interrupt the service. If they would just adjust the volume of their voices. So remember, if it's real love, then no adjustments will be being required or asked of you. And if you are giving real love, you know, we always think we're giving real love. We always think they're not giving real love, but we always think we are, right? Like if you could just love like I do, right? So, but we are not really loving while we are asking others to adjust themselves for us to justify our love. That's not real love. Real love does not ask for that or expect that. So good to know if you're wondering whether something is real love or not. And that's a very good thing to know. How to tell when you are experiencing real love or fake love. Very practical, helpful bit of discernment there. Because if you mistake fake love for the real love, guess what you're going to experience real soon? Heartbreak. Oh, I loved you. I thought you loved me, and then found out you didn't. We never go, oh my God, I thought I loved that person, but I realized I didn't. We never say that. We say, they said they loved me, but they really didn't. They betrayed me. All right. So remember, who need adjust to truth or love? Because what does truth and love do? Truth and love only calls upon what you are to understand love and truth. So someone who really loves you says, I just want you to be what you are. And when you love yourself, you go, I'm just trying to be what God has created me to be. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? That's what you say when you are loving yourself, and that is what you say to someone when you really love them, real love, like the love of God, real love. I only want you to be yourself. I don't want you to try to become somebody you're not just for me. You know, what happens when we ask people to change for us so we can love them, and they do, and they change? What happens? So we're like, if you would just be different, I could love you better. And then they go, okay, and then they start to make those adjustments. What happens? Are you like, that's so wonderful, I'm so satisfied? Is that never...
So good at doing that, so why don't you try changing this?
Exactly. When you say, listen, if you would just be a little different for me, and then I would be able to love you better. And they're like, okay, all right, because they're desperate for love. They're full of self-doubt. And so they make those changes. And then you are like, if you just little more, you know, never do you go, you're absolutely perfect. I'm 100% satisfied and fulfilled with you. We never say that. This always, because remember, the minute that first adjustment gets made, what comes in more and more? Self-doubt. Because if you needed that adjustment for love, what other kinds of adjustments do you now need for love? That's why second you start making those adjustments within yourself or asking other people to do that, more and more and more your doubting of yourself and them enters more and more. Wow. Okay. So then it says, paragraph 2, adjustments of any kind are of the ego. Woo. Adjustments of any kind are of the ego. Why? Because it is the ego's fixed belief that all relationships depend upon adjustments to make of them what the ego would have those relationships be. Wow. So let's just hear what it's saying here. It's the ego's belief that all relationships depend on adjustments for those relationships to be what the ego wants them to be. Okay? So that's what the ego relationships are about. We're gonna have to make some adjustments, okay? I mean, you're awesome, you're great, but we're gonna have, but this relationship is gonna be dependent on you, honey, dear, making some adjustments. I mean, I'll make a few myself, right? Of course, just in the name of fairness, but let's be honest, you're gonna be the one making the most adjustments here. Okay? And I'll do mine just to be fair, of course, but all ego relationships depend on you adjusting yourself for them and them adjusting themselves for you, meaning change. That's what all ego relationships depend on. You changing yourself and also me a little. Okay? So just so you know, when you're having an ego-based relationship, which means a relationship that's not based on universal truth, a relationship that's not based on real love or universal truth, is a relationship where that relationship depends on both people changing. Okay? How are you going to change for me? This is how I'll change for you. All right? Has anybody ever had a relationship like that? Has anybody ever not had a relationship like that? Yeah, I've had relationships with people who told me I was perfect and I didn't need to change, but I got rid of them really fast. They were boring. Right? The relationships where they're like, you're just perfect the way you are, don't change. I'm like, oh, you're kind of boring. I don't really have time for you. Okay, so we have, of course, Miracle says, you have formed holy relationships, but you have raised their opposite to such predominance, you don't even recognize those relationships with the people who accept you act as you are and they think you're amazing as you are and they don't even want you to change. We just don't have time for them.
Apparently I like the challenge.
Yes, exactly. We like the challenge. Can I get this person to change? Or...
try.
Exactly. I'm going to give it the old college try here. Wow. I mean, we just can't, the Course in Miracles says we can't even conceive of love where we're not trying to change ourselves or demanding that they change. We just can't even, what do you mean? A relationship where I don't have to sacrifice anything of who I am? I don't have to change anything, which means sacrifice anything. I don't have to change anything. I don't even know what that is. I don't know, when I have experienced relationships where I didn't perceive that they wanted me to sacrifice or change who I was for them, I've literally told myself they didn't love me. That's how crazy I was. I was like, well, they must not want me. They're not asking me, telling me how I got to change. They're not putting any demands on me for how I have to change for their love. They must not want me. They must not like me. Isn't that crazy? That's how much I have defined love in ego terms all my life. When I encountered real love, I'm like, oh, they don't like me, or how boring. You know, like Matt says, I'm looking for the challenge. You know, who can I get to change for me, proving my specialness? You know, I got so-and-so to change. Woo! I am special. I'm almost famous. In their world. Okay, can everybody relate to what I'm talking about? I know it's a little touchy subject here, but the whole Course in Miracles is a touchy subject. To the ego. The ego hates A Course in Miracles. Let's just get that straight. Remember, Course in Miracles is on the top 10 satanic book list, you know, that the Catholic Church had put out at one point.
What?
So that should tell you how awesome it is right there. It really is. That's the truth. Top 10 satanic book list. Course in Miracles is on that. Yeah, isn't that cool? If I had not known of A Course in Miracles, but I had heard about that, I would have been like, oh, I've got to check out A Course in Miracles. I got to see what's up with that. But so it says, we're in paragraph 2, sentence 3, direct relationships. What's a direct relationship? A direct relationship is a relationship in which there are no interferences or adjustments. Those relationships are always seen as dangerous. Wow. Okay. So a relationship where you're not asking yourself, not demanding that you change for them, and you're not demanding they change for you, that's a direct relationship with no adjustments, no interferences. And do you know, and to the ego, that is the ultimate threat. That is the ultimate. The ego's like, oh no, you don't. Do not, whatever you do, do not be in a relationship with anybody like that. That is your ego's biggest threat. You know, somebody who appreciates you as you are, is celebrating your freedom to be what you are, sees you as perfect, isn't asking you to change or sacrifice in any way, shape, or form. That is your ego's greatest fear, greatest threat. Wow. And that's why none of us have really experienced many of those relationships or recognize them, right? We don't recognize them. We don't foster many of those kinds of relationships. Course calls those a holy relationship. That's a definition of a holy relationship. There's no interference. It's direct. There's no adjustments. They're being their natural self and I'm being my natural self, and nobody is trying to be something that they're not for the other person. Okay? We have those kinds of relationships. That is a holy relationship. That is a relationship based on real love. But we don't either recognize the ones we have, or we just don't have them because they're a massive threat to our ego. Okay? But at least now we're learning what is a real relationship, what is a holy relationship, what is a truly fulfilling relationship. How do you have a relationship where your self-doubts don't increase, but decrease? Can you imagine? How would you like to have that? A relationship where your self-doubts decrease instead of increase. Sound good? Isn't it even nice just to hear that that is possible? That there is a way. You know, even if you have no idea how you can experience that, you're not sure you could ever have that yourself, it's still good to be like, okay, that's a thing. That's okay, that's a thing. All right, good to know in case I ever want one. And it doesn't take long of being in the relationship, the ego relationship, where you're always having to figure out how you need to change in order to be more worthy. All it takes is a few of those intense one of those to be like, oh my God, I want to experience a real relationship. I want to experience a holy relationship. All right. So it says, and now we're paragraph 2, sentence 4. The ego is the self-appointed mediator of all relationships. The self-appointed mediator of all of your relationships. And what the ego's doing is making whatever adjustments your ego deems necessary in that relationship, and interposing these adjustments between you and they who want to meet to actually keep you and them separate, which means to prevent your union. That's what the ego's doing. The self-appointed mediator, trying to make all kinds of adjustments between you so that you never really join. That's the ego's goal. And the ego's the self-appointed mediator of all your relationships. You didn't ask your ego in. Your ego's like, hey, hey, I'm here to come in here and mediate all your relationships. Make sure everybody's adjusting as they should. Okay? The self-appointed mediator making for all the adjustments that you and they need to make. Why? So that you never join. So that you never join. And instead of joining in your relationships, you just full of self-doubt and projection and blame and a lot of heartache. Well, thank you, ego. Did you know you have a self-appointed mediator that's mediating in all your relationships? Mediating as in meddling. Your ego is the self-appointed meddler. Liliana, do you know that word? Meddling in a relationship? Yeah. Where the ego is always trying to get in the middle of your relationships. Interfere. Yes. Interfere. The ego is a self-appointed interferer in all your relationships, so that there's nothing but attempts to adjust, which means increasing frustration and self-doubt, but no joining. Thanks, ego. And we didn't ask it. It appointed itself. It just came in of its own volition. Yeah, and we exactly. The ego is like, doesn't even ring the doorbell, just opens up the door and goes, "Hey, I'm here," and now you got to do what I say. I'm the ego. Now, give me some coffee. And the ego puts its feet up on the coffee table, starts ordering you around, instead of going, "Get the hell out of my house, ego." We're like, "Oh, what can I do next?" Well, clean the place up. It's dirty. That is the ego that we just let come in. What does the Course in Miracles say? The stranger that, what is the Course, the workbook lesson? There is a stranger who has wandered in to my mind, to my house. All right. So then it says, paragraph 2, sentence 5, it is this studied interference or adjusting which makes it difficult to recognize your holy relationship for what it is. So, because of your ego meddling and making all the adjustments that everyone needs to make for the ego so that you'll never join, makes it very difficult for you to recognize the holiness, the true beauty and power of your relationship. The Course in Miracles says that these relationships were given to you by God, by the universe, to help you, for you to help to heal with. That's what these people were given to you for. And because of how the ego is meddling and interfering in your relationships, you don't really recognize the glorious miracle of why this person was given to you and why y'all were brought together for a very beautiful, holy reason. But you will never see why God has put you guys together while the ego is doing its interfering, it's adjusting, it's meddling, telling you how they need to change and telling you how you need to change. Okay? You'll never realize the beauty and the power of the relationship, that the holy reason you were given it. All right. Questions? Questions or comments?
I have a comment.
What's that?
I'm becoming increasingly aware, and this really hit me last night. I was at a lovely kirtan in Lakewood, and I'm not saying that everybody in the room recognizes, but I am becoming more aware that the experience that I have during kirtan is representation of a holy relationship. Mm-hmm. It is, I'm becoming aware that it is an experience in union. Mm-hmm. It's an experience in true love, because for 2 hours, people join in common purpose, and I'm not asking anybody to make adjustments here or there or any. We're just all there in train and aligning our hearts with one purpose to express love and connection with spirit and one another.
That's right.
And so I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
Because that's coming into my awareness.
Beautiful. So thank you. So Matt was expressing that when he's doing the kirtan, that he's experiencing the holy relationship where he's not making any demands on anyone to change or adjust. and he's not doing that to himself, and that he's experiencing a holy relationship in that, because that's what we're hearing that a holy relationship is, where you are just enjoying the relationship that was given you by God for a very important and holy purpose, without your ego always trying to figure out how that person's got to change for you to be happy, or vice versa. That's a holy relationship. When you're not allowing your ego to try to change them and get them to make adjustments for you to be happy, or you're not allowing your ego to do that with you, then you are going to experience something beautiful and powerful in whomever you're around. Whoever you're with, if you're not allowing your ego to be like figuring out how they got to change and you got to change, you will experience something very beautiful and miraculous that A Course in Miracles says that God has placed in that relationship for the both of you, but that you'll never see while you're trying to get them to change, or you're trying to get yourself to change to make them happy.
So I just to follow up, I guess part of the point of me sharing that is that we're hearing about, somewhat indirectly perhaps, we're learning about how we can recognize when we're experiencing a holy relationship.
Yes, that's right.
So by having these ideas in mind, I'm recognizing that I have holy relationships I just wasn't aware of before.
Exactly. So Matt is saying that this is helping us to be able to identify when we're experiencing a holy relationship, which means a real relationship, which means happy. Course in Miracles defines holy also as happy. This is also what it means to have a truly happy relationship. A happy relationship is a holy relationship. A holy relationship is a happy relationship. And if you don't know how to recognize a truly happy or holy or real relationship, then you won't be able to appreciate it when it's there, nor will you know how to transform the unhappy relationship into a happy relationship. This is telling you exactly how to transform an unhappy relationship into a happy one. Okay? And the way it's telling us to do that is as soon as you stop allowing your ego, the self-appointed mediator of all your relationships, to convince you how those people need to change or how you need to change, and you don't allow your ego to do that. You don't side with your ego in that. You don't go along with your ego's plan to get them to change, and you don't go along with your ego's plan to get you to change. You are in that moment allowing your relationship to be purified of the ego and transformed into a holy, satisfying, happy, which means holy relationship. Now, what is more practical than that? How to allow an unhappy relationship to be transformed to a happy, satisfying one. What's more practical than that? What's more valuable than that? Not much. Not much. And so the moment when, let's just say, for practical example, okay? Let's say that I'm experiencing a relationship, and I'm feeling frustration or some dissatisfaction with this person, and then and here comes my ego. Hey, you know why this relationship is not that great right now? It's because really they need to change. Really, I mean, you know, Anna. Okay, so here's my ego counseling me. And then my ego says, you know, if you could just convince them, you know, with a little guilt and some logic, you know. Guilt and logic, guilty logic. Yeah. It's like you can start with logic, but if they resist, then throw in some guilt. Guilt gets them every time. When people believe they're guilty and you give them guilt saying how they need to change for you to be happy, they will go along with it. They'll go, okay, well, yeah, I am guilty, so, and they will try to change to make you happy, okay? So in that scenario where I'm experiencing some frustration and dissatisfaction, and then here comes my ego telling me that the reason for the discomfort of the relationship is because of what they're doing, and if they would adjust their behavior, then I would be happy. And if I follow that, and I take my ego's advice, and I now embark upon a campaign to change them, get them to adjust their behavior, if I go along with that, even if that person says, all right, because I'm guilty and I, quote, love you, I'll change, all that will be in my future is more and more self-doubt in that relationship. Okay. Now, in that scenario where I'm experiencing dissatisfaction and frustration in that relationship, I could, instead of taking my ego's counsel, I could turn my attention to the truth and let the truth remind me that my happiness and my satisfaction has absolutely nothing to do with this person's behavior or whether they change their behavior at all. And that my satisfaction and happiness 100% comes from me knowing and accepting the truth about myself right now, as complete right now, and that is what I'm going to focus my attention on. Not trying to change their behavior, not giving them some guilt mixed in with some logic about how they should change. I'm not going to try to change them or demand that they change at all. I'm going to put my focus on, let me remember the truth about myself right now, which is that I am perfect and complete right now. I don't need anybody to change for me to be who I was created to be. Love, joy, eternal, good enough. Okay, now, when I do that, now all of a sudden, now what I experience in that relationship is miracles. Like, I didn't ask that person to change one bit. I didn't give them any guilt. I didn't say, if only you would blah, 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 blah. And I just let them be. And then the next thing I knew, that person was being, what I was experiencing was total satisfaction. Now they're loving and amazing and generous and helpful and friendly, and I'm having this incredible relationship with this person. It's so amazing. And I didn't try to make any adjustments, not to myself or to them. You know, I didn't demand they make adjustments. All I did was I directed my focus to change. I told my focus of my mind to change, and I put it on the truth of what I am now. So is that a good practical example of the value of what we're talking about today? This is the way to transform your unhappy, dissatisfying, frustrating relationship to something that is satisfying and fulfilling and joyous and happy and holy. It's also the way to end your own self-doubt. Because remember, every time I'm going to demand somebody change, for me, my self-doubt increases. So every time I don't demand somebody else make an adjustment for me, or every time I don't do that for them, my awareness of my self-value increases. So that I'm walking around feeling complete already. Feeling already fulfilled. You know, it's the best feeling in the world. You're walking around, you're like, man, I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. I feel happy. I feel full, filled. That is the best feeling in the world. And it's the most attractive. So the ego tells you, if you don't get other people to make adjustments for you, you will be alone. That's what ego tells you. If you don't get people to sacrifice for you with guilt then you will be alone. Nobody will want you. The truth is in when you are experiencing your own fulfillment as you were created, radiant, glorious, loving, creative, brilliant, powerful, when you are experiencing that reality of yourself, you are so attractive to people, you would never be alone even if you wanted to. People would be like, what? I want to be with you. I want to be with you. I want to hang out with you. What are you into? So you could, it's only when you start trying to sacrifice who and what you are and try to change who and what you are and make adjustments to get some love, it's only then that you feel lonely, even if you have another body with you. But if you're truly being yourself as you were created by God, glorious, radiant, loving, creative, powerful, there will always be people who want to be with you. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. Any yes buts? Any yes but? Yes but? Yes but. All right. How am I doing on time? Okay. So, then, okay, now we're on paragraph 3. Now, here it says, the holy do not interfere with truth. Okay, remember we heard that A Course in Miracles defines holy as happy. So I'm going to read it as that. Happy people do not interfere with truth. Happy people do not interfere with truth. In other words, they're not always trying to adjust everything. They're not always trying to make a change in everything. Happy people do not interfere or adjust with truth. Happy people are not afraid of truth because it is within truth that happy people recognize their happiness and they rejoice at what they saw. Happy people, satisfied people, looked on truth directly, which is how they were created by God, and they did not attempt to adjust themselves to that truth, nor did they attempt to adjust the truth to them. And so happy people saw that it was in the truth, not deciding first where they would have happiness be. Happy people's looking merely asked a question, and it was what happy people saw that answered happy people. In other words, you make the world, and then you adjust to the world you made, and then you adjust the world you made to you. Nor is there any difference between yourself and the world in your perception, which made them both. Okay, so what do happy, fulfilled, radiant people do? Or what do they don't do? What do happy people don't do?
Interfere with the truth.
They don't interfere. They're not always trying to get something to change. Happy people are like, man, truth is awesome. Truth is wholly satisfying right here and right now. Truth is fulfilling me. Truth is perfect as it is. Happy people aren't like, you're awesome, but if you could just... Unhappy people are always trying to get other people to change. Unhappy people are always demanding that they sacrifice and change who they naturally are to get other people's approval. That's what unhappy people do. And I'm also going to say here, this is what unloving people do. Unloving people are always trying to get other people to change for them, and they're always demanding that they sacrifice who and what they are to get other people's approval. That is what unhappy, unloving people do. Yes?
So I remember the first time I went out with Amber, with my wife.
Yes.
We met 5 years ago. On the very first date, at the end, she said to me that she's almost perfect.
Your wife on your first date told you that she's almost perfect.
Right.
I love it. And what did you say?
I was like, wow,
You're like,
that's a really messy statement.
And when you're like, what are the percentages?
Yeah, right. So,
She said,
and she didn't say it with any hubris or arrogance. It was just, no, I'm almost perfect. And I'm like, okay. But what you're saying is unhappy people
yeah,
don't feel like they need to change themselves.
that's right, exactly, or other people.
Yeah, she's one of the happiest people I know.
Indeed, I would have to agree. Yeah.
So,
Did you ask her she says she's almost perfect. Did you ask her what's the part that's not?
I'm still looking.
Oh. And she ain't saying.
Or did you say, wow, what a coincidence, we're a good match?
You're like, that's right. That's what he should have said. We're a perfect match because I'm almost perfect. Yes.
Well, I just want to follow up on that because he actually gave a personal first-hand example of what I was going to try to articulate is that what I was getting out of that last paragraph is that these happy people, these loving people have learned to find peace and happiness within themselves.
That's right.
They're taking care of their primary relationship with themselves first before, and not looking outside for the happiness.
Very good.
Which is something I'm still working towards.
And me too. And so Matt was saying that happy people are people who have looked upon truth directly. And what is truth? The truth is that you were created perfect. You were created as love, by love. You are only love. You are not missing anything. You are all of love. That's all you are. Happy people have looked upon the truth directly. And they're not trying to adjust that. They're like, okay, well, we've all been created by love. We are only love, and everything besides that is just our call for love. And happy people have looked upon truth directly. And they've accepted it for what it is. And they've accepted it within themselves. So happy people are not looking for other people to make them happy. They've looked upon the truth directly, which is that they are happy. They were created with happiness within them. The Course in Miracles says that peace is an attribute in us as we were created. Did you know that? Did you know that when you were created, God put peace in every one of us? Like, did you know that peace is already in you? Already an attribute of you? Who knew? But happy people know that because happy people have looked upon the truth directly. And so now they're not looking for other people to make them happy. And then what happens to happy people? Happy people are surrounded by other happy and loving people who just want to share more love and happiness with them. So when you look upon the truth directly, I am as love created me. All you are is now surrounded by other people who are reinforcing that in you. Okay. This is what happy people do. Now, it's easier to relate to unhappy people, right? And we all can relate to this, where the person who's so unhappy, they're so miserable, but every time you talk to them, they're telling you what you should be doing and how you should change and how you're wrong. And you're thinking to yourself, but you're miserable. Why are you, this miserable person, telling me how I need to change to be better or for you to be happy? And every time I do try to change for you, it doesn't make you happy. It makes you more unhappy. So when you come across somebody who's very demanding in how you should think differently and be differently and act differently, remember, they're not just an a-hole. You're dealing with somebody who's unhappy. This is an unhappy person. And an unhappy person is someone who doesn't know the truth. They haven't looked upon truth directly. They don't know the truth. And so they're not an a-hole. They're just somebody who doesn't know the truth. And so they're not happy. Okay? All right. And believe me, that interpretation makes a big difference. That reinterpretation of that person from a jerk to somebody who just doesn't know the truth. They haven't looked upon the truth directly yet. You know, they don't know that the truth of who they are is the most beautiful, glorious, loving, and lovable thing they could ever dream of. They don't know that. Okay, but when you remember that for them, now you are silently answering their call for help, and you are silently helping them to remember the truth about themselves. You know, and it says happy people know that it is, happy people look to the truth. Happy people look to their truth, the truth, for happiness. Happy people know that's the only place to really find happiness. Happy people know that. Happy people know that true happiness does not come from getting other people to change for you. Happy people know that. Happy people are like, that does not work. That is not where you find the truth. That is not where you find happiness. It all is within me, realizing, recognizing the truth of who I am, how I was created to be. That's what happy people, that's what loving people know. Okay? All right. Beautiful. Then it says, okay, and then that was paragraph 3. All right. So there's that last sentence in paragraph 3 where it says, you make the world you see, and then you adjust to the world you made, and then you adjust the world to you. That's a lot of adjustments going on. I make the world, and then I adjust it to me, and then I make the world, then I adjust myself to the world, and then I try to adjust the world to me. And those are all the things I say have to happen differently in the world outside of me for me to be happy. I need a new job, I need a new relationship, I needed this, I needed that. All the things outside of you that you think need to change for you to be happy, those are all the adjustments that you feel that you need to make to the world and how you need to get the world to adjust to you.
If this, and if you just take it on face value that all of this is going on in our minds, just think for a moment how much energy that takes.
And thank you. And think how much energy, mental and physical, that takes. And this is why we are so exhausted. This is why we're so exhausted. It's not just because of our jobs or all the stuff that you have to do to maintain the body. It's because of this. If we weren't constantly, obsessively trying to make adjustments, trying to get the world to adjust to us and get us to adjust to the world and get other people to make adjustments to make us happy, if we were not wasting our mental and physical energy on all that unnecessary adjusting, we would have so much energy. We'd have so much creative power. We'd have so much physical and mental creative energy. Wow. So not only would you be happy, but you would be fully energized to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy that you were created to create. Right now, we're just like doing repairs and making adjustments, doing repairs and making adjustments. And what happens in the world when you're trying to make adjustments and repairs out in the world, and you adjust this and you repair that? What happens right after that? Something else. Something else needs to be repaired. Something else needs to be. It's a never-ending task. And the Course says that who you really are is not capable of being exhausted. Who you are cannot be exhausted. You are an eternal, ever-generating, ever-renewing energy You are. But the Course says, but you are capable of wearying yourself. And this is how we're wearying ourselves. Even though our spirit can't be exhausted. You can't run out of spirit fuel. You know, but you certainly can exhaust your brain and your physical body. And that's what we're doing. When we could just be like, isn't it great? God has given us all everything. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that perfect? Isn't that great that I don't need to do anything? I don't need to improve upon myself, and I don't need to prove upon them. I have all the love right now. I am love. I don't have to be doing all that. Doesn't that sound like a big relief? Doesn't that sound like, relaxation, calm, ease, grace, you know? Now, when you're calm and relaxed like that, your mind can think brilliantly, and your physical body has more energy to do what it needs to do. Because you're not wasting your energy on something that's useless and worthless. It doesn't make you happy anyway. All right. Great. So then it says, let's see, at paragraph 4. So we won't go past paragraph 4. We'll just do, let's see. All right. So it was saying in paragraph 3 about how we make the world, okay? We make the world as we see it. And then we're like adjusting ourselves to the world, and we're going to adjust the world to us, okay? It's a lot of business, a lot of wasted energy. But instead of all that, paragraph 4, a simple question yet remains and needs an answer, okay? The voice of the Course is about to ask us a very simple question that apparently we need to answer. Do you like the world you have made? You know, a world of murder and attack, through which you thread your timid way through constant dangers, alone and frightened, hoping at most that death will wait a little longer before it overtakes you and you disappear. Do you like the world you have made up? You made this world up. Okay, we didn't answer the question. This world that we've made of constant danger, murder, attack, that we thread our timid way through, lone and frightened, hoping at most that death will wait a little long before it overtakes us and we disappear. Okay, does anybody like that world? Does anybody like the world that we've made? The world of constant dangers that we're threading our timid way through, that we're just hoping maybe God will wait one more day before God, you know, cuts the little string that my life dangles on. Anybody like that world? Anybody think that's cool? It's like Disneyland of hell. Disneyland hell. The world we made. And he says, this is a very important question, a simple question that remains and needs an answer. Apparently, we're supposed to answer this question. Do you like the world you made? Okay? All right. And then it says, okay, well, you made this world up. This world, the one of constant danger, you thread your timid way through, says this world of constant dangers is a picture of what you think you are and how you see yourself. Okay, good to know. Okay, how do I see myself? A murderer. Apparently, if I'm in a world of constant danger where everything's trying to kill me, then what is it? And then this world is a picture of what I think I am. Then what is it I think I am? A murderer. If I live in a world where everything is trying to eat me or kill me, what is it? And then this world is a picture of what I am. What is it I think I am? I think I'm a murderer. And the Course in Miracles says that's right. If you believe you are guilty, then you believe that you are a murderer and you believe you deserve death. Did you know that? just accepting I'm guilty, what we're all taught to accept, what is entailed and implied in that identity is that you yourself are a murderer and that you deserve to die. What did we all learn about sin? We all learned the wages of sin is death. Didn't we all learn that? What does that mean? That means if you're guilty, guess what? You deserve to die. Oh, and what a coincidence that I'm in a world where I could die a million ways before lunch. What a coincidence. Okay? So the world we see is a picture of what we think we are. You know, somebody who murders and also deserves to die. All right. A murderer is frightened, and those who kill fear death. Just know that. Whoever murders is somebody who fears death. Okay? And all these things are but the fearful thoughts of those who are trying to adjust themselves to a world that's made fearful by their adjustments. And so we look out in sorrow from what is sad within, and we see the sadness there. All right. So, and then paragraph 5, we'll just go on a little bit. Have you wondered what the world is really like? Okay, have you wondered what the world is really like? How would the world look through happy eyes? I love that question. It's a great exercise. Okay, have you ever wondered what the world really looks like? Okay, the real world is not a place of constant dangers through which you thread your timid way, hoping at most that death will wait one more day before it takes you. Okay? That's not the real world. The real world is a world that you see through happy eyes. The real world is the world you see when you're not always trying to get everyone and everything to adjust to you or get you to adjust to everyone and to the world. Happy eyes. When you are happy, knowing the truth about yourself and how you don't need to change or get anybody else to change for you to be happy, you see a world that is happy. You see a world that is safe. You see a world that is loving. You see a world that is abundant. You see a world that is supportive. The world that we see of constant dangers, that's a world that you see coming from the belief that you are incomplete within, that you are not love, that you don't have love, that you need to get love from other people. You need to make other people give you love. When you have that belief and you don't believe that real love and perfect love is in you, you're going to see a world where everything wants to kill you or eat you. Fun. I'm telling you, Disneyland hell. You know. So remember, the world is showing you the picture, just a picture of what you believe you are. If you believe that you are not love, that you are not as God created you, then you're going to see a world that is going to reflect that and go, that's right, you are guilty and you are vulnerable and you are somebody else's dinner. That's what you're going to see. The world you see is but a judgment on yourself. It's not there at all. But judgment lays a sentence on the world, justifies it, and makes it real. Such is the world you see, a judgment on yourself and made by you. This sickly picture of yourself is carefully preserved by the ego, whose image it is and which the ego loves, and placed outside you in the world. And to this world you must adjust as long as you believe this picture is outside and has you at its mercy. So I'll read that last sentence again. And to this world you must adjust as long as you believe that this picture of the world is outside. As long as you believe this picture of yourself is in the world outside and has you at its mercy. So it's a really important point there. Okay, this world, this seems like it's after you one way or another. Okay, danger one way or another, after you, trying to kill you, eat you. this world, you must adjust yourself to as long as you believe that the world you see is outside of you. So as long as I see what's going on out there as coming from out there, it's such a cruel world, it's such a mean world, it's such a scary world, everything's trying to kill me or eat me, it's such a scary, cruel world. As long as I believe that the scary, cruel world is out there, and instead of a picture of how I see myself, then I will always see myself at the mercy of the sick and cruel world. Super important, massively, because that idea right there lets you know where your real safety relative to this world is and your real happiness. Because if you don't want to have an experience of yourself being at the mercy of this sick and cruel world, then you need to know where the world's coming from. You need to know where the world really is. You need to know what it really is. So instead of going, this world is so cruel and so scary, and God, it's so horrible, I just feel like such a victim of the world. If I don't want to feel like that anymore, which I hate feeling, by the way, I don't like feeling like a victim of the world I see. How about you? The world we see right now is sick and cruel, constant dangers. And the only way for me to experience safety and peace relative to such a sick and cruel world is for me to realize that the world I'm seeing is a picture of how I see myself, and whether I see myself as guilty or not. It all comes down to that. It always comes down to how I see myself, and do I see myself as guilty or innocent? And as long as I see myself as guilty, then I am going to see the sick and cruel world as outside myself, and I'm going to see the world as if I am at its mercy. And who wants to live like that? I don't. I don't want to live in constant fear of the constant dangers of a sick and cruel world. I don't want to feel like a victim of that anymore. That's terrifying. And so when I'm tempted to feel terrified about this sick and cruel world and how I'm a helpless victim of it, when I'm feeling helpless and powerless relative to the crazy world, I want to remember this world is showing me a picture of what I believe about myself. And I'm seeing that it's picturing how I have believed I was guilty. That's what I'm seeing. But now I am accepting the truth. I am looking on truth directly, which is that I am guiltless and sinless as I was created by God. That is the truth. I'm looking on that directly. I'm not adjusting it to me or me to it. And that is the only way where now I will see a world that is safe, a world that is supportive. The world outside of us is not objective. It's not like, well, there's the objective world, right? There's the objective world. That's really what's happening, and my only choice is how I choose to see it. That's not the case. The world is a projection. That's what the world is. What I'm seeing out there is a projection. And if I feel like a victim of it, then I need to remember that there is no objective world out there. That I'm only seeing what I believe about myself, and I'm going to direct my mind to change its focus, to accept the truth about myself, which is my innocence, my guiltlessness. And what's the reward then? I get to experience the real world, where everything is not trying to kill me or eat me. Now I look out and I experience a world where it's supportive and loving and abundant and safe and beautiful and glorious, where I feel free, not like a victim. And all that change from one world to another world came because I took full responsibility for the world that I was seeing. And instead of trying to adjust myself to the world and project onto the world, I made the decision to focus on accepting the truth about myself within my own mind. And now I experience a different kind of world. Isn't that great? And for free. For free. A new world, a loving, supportive, beautiful, safe, abundant world for free. All that was required was me to go, the world I'm seeing is a projection of what I believe I am. I have believed I'm guilty. That was a mistake. I want to see the truth about myself directly, my guiltlessness. No. Didn't cost anything. And how long did that take to do that? This Course in Miracles is too easy. That is the ego's, that is people's biggest beef with A Course in Miracles. It's just, it can't be true. It's just too easy. Yes.
I just want to point out that the example you just gave of what was the ultimate choose once again. It is
That's
the,
right.
It is the example, choose once again. Do I really want this world that I've seen and experienced?
That's right.
Or not?
That's right. That's why he said, a simple question yet remains and needs an answer. Do you like the world you have made? Do you like the world as you're seeing it right now? Because until you ask that question and answer it, you don't have the motivation, to really look on the truth within. All right. I'm going to read one of the pieces in my new book. And why don't I read this while we pass around the love offering basket? Thank you, Winter. Okay. This is from my new book, Declaration of Independence for the New Earth. It's available on Amazon. And this piece seems appropriate for this section today. All right. It's called Happiness Is. If this were different, I'd be happy. The lament of our perpetual discontent. But happiness is no set of conditions or a thing we attain. Just like love doesn't come just because we got someone or something to change. Happiness is the changeless reality we were created in and by. Happiness is the loving matrix from which all come into space and time. Happiness is the brilliant light we all return to when our self-exile has exhausted its unholy reign. Happiness is a choice for what is, what always was, and what always will be, in celebration of the never lost to an unending love. In this holy instant now, I choose the happiness that created me happy, and I accept my inheritance as a creation of joy itself. Happiness is beautiful. And also, I just want to tell you guys, if you haven't already, go to the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center's new YouTube page, if you haven't already. Maybe everybody here has. We need 50 subscribers to that YouTube channel in order to broadcast live from here for our Rocky Mountain Miracle Center classes. Okay, so if you haven't, and you guys watching, if you haven't already, go to YouTube and put in the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center and subscribe, and then that will enable us to start live streaming from YouTube, which makes it easier. Most people watch their more stuff on YouTube live. Okay, so, all right. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube and Facebook. And if you'd like to share this ministry or support it, post it on your Facebook page or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Yitzi and Jean. Love you guys.